So that would be nice because you could have, you know, real power here. And if they would, I'm going to jump on that gas line hopefully tomorrow afternoon. If I could get it in, get it inspected as well, we could have some heat in this place. Okay, on our last episode, which I'm not really sure how long ago that was, but I was talking to you in there while I was working on the electrical panel, and I said I was going to jump out here and try to get this gas line punched through the wall before dark. Well, I made it. So it's only been like 35 minutes for me. It's been a long time for you guys, I'm sure. So we ran 1 inch, and the reason I did that is because that's what this valve was, and of course it's probably a little more durable being outside. Once I get in there, I'll put a 1 inch sediment trap, turn it up underneath the joist, and I'll probably immediately go to 3/4 inch. Okay, I went to thread my 3/4 inch pipe this morning, and it was doing a terrible job, and I got to looking, and I'm sure you probably can't see it on camera, but 2 of the dies in there are just destroyed, and it was you know, ripping the threads out and whatnot. So I couldn't find any dies. It's Saturday, plus about the only place that ever carries them around here is in an electrical supply house, and they didn't have them. So what I did, I wanted to get this done this weekend. So I ran down to Harbor Freight and bought this little power threader, $169 I think. Comes with 1/2 inch through 1 1/4 dies, and it seems to be working good. So I thought I would show you this little thing and just, you know, see if it's worth buying. It comes with extra brushes, so I'm assuming you go through the brushes on these. But I need to, all these pipe threading tools I got were given to me. They're pretty much worn out. This vise is probably the best thing here because you can use it for anything. Ream the inside. It's the supply house that had it on the shelf so long they wanted rid of it. It's a close quarters cutter. It's got 4 cutting wheels. The bad thing about it is it leaves a pretty good burr on the pipe right here. So we've got such a nice burr there, we would probably never get the threader started. I had been using this big bastard file to do it, but I've got my little 20-volt grinder here, and it works a lot quicker. I keep thinking I might find out if that thread and cutting oil is flammable or not when I do that. But this vise, like I say, it's got some years on it, so when I was using the hand threader, especially with that bad die, it was sometimes spinning the pipe. This little Harbor Freight thing comes with this little dog here that'll catch it for you and hold it, so you don't have to do anything except stand there and hold the trigger. Just clamp it down on the pipe. Slide this guy up on there, and see that dog fits in right here where it'll catch it. Get it started. Reverse it. It gives you a pretty good looking thread. And my arms aren't near as tired as they usually are. So I think for the money, even if it just lasts this one job, it's probably going to be worth it. Had to order these fittings to get domestic fittings. And I still, a couple of them were made in China, but I just tend to have better luck. These cost a little more. I don't know why the supply houses just don't go ahead and stock United States made stuff. But I've had some of the Chinesium ones leak, through the actual casting. Well, the camera battery died last night when I was, I think, putting this fitting on. Afterwards, I came over and extended this line over and down for the water heater here. So I've just got it capped off on both ends right where the union will be going. I put this pressure gauge on and I tested it with nitrogen, but the problem was this pressure gauge, I would run it up to like 15 and then I would bleed some off, but it would stay at 15 until you tapped on it. So it's just gotten sticky inside. Of course, the inspector's not going to want to see that. So I went by Home Depot this morning and picked up a new one. They had 2 of these in stock. So I brought some bubble stuff down. I'm going to check when looking at the reviews on Home Depot's website. About half of them say they leak where they put them together. I put a wrench on here. I was going to take it apart and put some Teflon on it, but I couldn't budge it when I was just holding it in my hand. So it may be leak free, it may not. I feel like the system's leak free because this gauge stayed right where I left it last night. And when I got here this morning, I tapped on it and beat on it and it didn't move. But as soon as I depressed the Schrader core and let a little air out and then tapped on it, it dropped down. So I feel like I got a leak-free system, but I'm going to go ahead and spray a little bubble stuff just on this device here, just to make sure that these brass into chrome actually holds with no sealant. Well, bubble test says the gauge doesn't leak, so I've got her just past 15 there. I also need probably to go ahead and vent this furnace up and through the roof. It's been sitting here open. I better get a light and look down in there and make sure I didn't drop anything down in that inducer. But if they're going to give me permission to turn my gas on, they're probably going to want to make sure everything's vented. So I have that concentric outlet going through the roof up there, so it'll just be a matter of extending the 2-inch lines up to it. And then I've got a little bit of electrical left to do down here. I forgot to tie these boxes together down here, so I'm going to do that. And I was walking around upstairs looking at the electrical, just making sure I hadn't forgot anything. And when I got in the front bedroom, I was just looking up at the can lights and I couldn't see any wires going to them. And I had ran the home run to the first light, but I didn't jump between the lights. So I've got to jump in there and hook up those 4 can lights. So hopefully that'll be all the electrical I need for the inspection. So as long as this test holds and I get that little bit of electrical done and the vent extended up today, I should be in good shape to call for a couple of inspections tomorrow. Just came downstairs to check. It's still where it was. So I don't know how long it's been, a couple hours. I've got all the wiring done that I had missed. I'd also missed tying together my smoke detector circuits up there and tying the grounds together, but got everything. I marked the line coming in on this one because this is going to be a ground fault outlet, and you'll have to know which is the line and what's the load. But gas line should be good and electrical should be good, so I'm going to get working on this vent. It's got to go right up through here, so I hope I can get a 10-foot piece. I've got a draft stop up at the trusses as well, so I guess depending on how big a hole I cut, it will be whether or not I can get the whole pipe up through there. But I'm going to get some measurements. I think I'm just going to keep them the same distance apart all the way up through. That should look the best if I can get my angles right. So I'll get me some measurements and find me a hole saw and get to work. Okay, I was able to slide the pipe up in there. I just stuck the top of it up in this truss bay here and then stuck it down through the hole at a little bit of an angle toward the return, and it slid on down in there. So now I've got a 10-foot piece just hanging down through there by this clamp sitting on top of my return box. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So I'm going to go down to the furnace and take a couple of fittings with me and see what kind of a length we need down there. Okay, I just cut the first piece. I had that piece hanging down through the floor, so I just measured it with a tape measure and added some, and it still barely made it. So I got this piece of conduit stuck in here. I was just using it earlier to get a distance between these two. If I do this with two street L's going into the furnace, I wind up with 5 inches between these two. And so what I can do is go upstairs, drill another hole 5 inches over from the center of this one, and keep everything parallel from here on up. And I think that'll look all right. Of course, I turned my coil around to where my access to it'll be back here, so nothing will ever be in the way back here. So the only time you should ever have to unhook these is if you're changing the furnace or doing some kind of major repair. I'll just RTV these down in here, so I'll be able to pick them up and get them out of there if we need to just take it loose temporarily for some reason. Looks like this particular furnace has a coupling right down here on the inducer as well. Well, that one wound up behind that stud, so it didn't go in there as easy, but where there's a will, there's a way. Well, that should be what we wind up with here. What I'll do, this gets us, these two 10-footers wind up in the attic barely, so I won't have any joints up through the chase up there. So what I'll do is glue up these 6 joints down here, and then I'll move up into the attic and start trying to figure out the connection between those 2 pipes that's barely sticking up above the trusses up to that concentric vent going through the roof. about the only thing I know to tell you about trying to fit something between two fixed pipes on a 45 is you just got to sneak up on it. I cut me a piece here that I knew was intentionally a little too long, and it looks like I've still got to back this fitting it straight back about an inch, or about half the width of this pipe opening. But it moves fast on a 45, so I rarely ever take off more than about a 1/4 inch at a time. I've got my miter saw set up down there in the kitchen. It's still had the blade on it backwards from when I was doing siding, so it works pretty good at cutting this PVC. So what I'm going to do is just take this pipe back down, cut another 1/4 inch off of it, and come back and see how I'm doing. Okay, I'm back. Here's the little sliver I took off. So I'm gonna stick her back in there, fit, and see how we did. And that is almost there. I say I can't take that much off again, I don't believe. Probably about maybe about 2/3 of that much would get us there, because I'm probably not stuck in the fittings as deep as it's going to go when I glue it, because once you put that glue on there it kind of lubes it up, but it's close. I don't know if you can, I think you can see my hand up here. It may be close enough. Like I say, 45s are tough. It's a lot easier to use 90s, but it's twice as many. In this case, this is equal to 190 with 245. So if we put in two long sweep 90s, we would have twice as much equivalent length, which would probably be fine on this one because it's relatively short. But I'd still rather keep my flues as short as possible. So what I may do is measure a vertical piece right here, make sure I'm pushed down good here, and cut me a little nipple to go up here at the top, and just take a look and see how it does. This looks like it goes up in there. Yeah, it sticks up in this concentric 1.5 inches. The other thing to make sure you're still on your exhaust flue when you go in the center of this thing. I've seen some of the pictures in the Facebook groups of people that go out to a furnace that's been running years and the concentric adapter was hooked up backwards. But at any rate, if I'm 1.5 inches up in there, it looks like this piece probably needs to be about 3¼ inches. I'm going to cut me a piece 3¼ and it may wind up being wrong if I can't get it together right now and I shorten this, then that pipe's going to be too short, but it's only 3½ inches. I'm sure I'm going to have all kinds of scrap. We'll try to push this together good, take it off this pipe down here, put her up in there. We'll have a hard time getting that all the way up in there. It's so deep of a socket. See how deep I made it, because I like a long way of fitting right now. I had that one pretty close. As far as this fitting, let's see what the top one is. The top one I missed by about 1/2 inch. Yeah, I got just over 1 inch, and I need 1.5 inches up in there. The bottom one was 3/4, so I had it all the way. So, of course, you probably don't have to use this entire 1.5 inches of glue. That could probably be your leeway. So. I'm going to take a little off this piece here like I thought originally, maybe about 3/16 of an inch, and go from there. Okay, so I got my new longer nipple, so I'm going to throw the short one away so I don't grab it by mistake. I got me a little board sitting down here on the trusses to try to hold my glue. I'll get started fitting it. I'm not going to bore you with the running up and down the ladder, cutting it off 1/4 inch at a time. I'm sure that was terrible. Okay, she is completely put together and glued up. I'm going to drive by the courthouse and see if they're open. Sometimes they are not open for walk-in because of COVID. If they aren't open, I have the email address of the lady who does the permits and schedules the inspections. I can just send her an email and she can email me back and let me know that they can come and when. Otherwise, if they are open, I may just go there in the morning while the inspectors are there. Sometimes if you go in and talk to them, they can come out the same day. Otherwise, it would probably be Tuesday before they can come out and look. But I'll let you know how it goes. Well, I was picking up tools, and when I picked up the hammer drill, it reminded me that I had not ran the drain line for the sump pump. It needs to come outside rather than go into the sewer or something else. So I went ahead and drilled the hole, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to run it before I go home. I cut me a piece of 2-inch. Long enough to get through the 8-inch block, so that'll be my sleeve, and then I'll have 1.5-inch pipe coming over off of the pump. What I'm going to do is run up into the joist bay and strap it to the side of a joist that should be right here close, and then when I get over here I'll 90 down and 90 out, and that'll just keep it up out of my way so I won't be banging my head on it when I'm crawling around under there, and it'll still drain out. Eventually the driveway is going to come over here pretty close. Grade will be, you know, close to where it is now, maybe just a little higher, so I'll probably end up trying to get it to kick out onto the driveway. Not that it'll be running that much, we hope, but if it does, we don't want it to go right down beside the foundation. Okay, I turned you off because the battery was getting about ready to die, and I didn't want to have another repeat of last night, but basically it's just strapped down that joist. Comes over, comes straight down here. Got it strapped to the block wall down here, and then back down to its old foot valve. I did put a couple of new clamps on it. Okay, here's what it looks like outside. I just got this piece of 2-inch that was left over. I'm just going to kind of stick it up on there to kick the water out further away from the house, to get it out of that ditch that the water is making where it comes off the roof with no gutters. So that'll kind of kick it out toward the driveway. And I can quit now knowing that I worked almost all day. We got approved.